everybody ready? We'll call the November 21st, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Brenda, will you do roll call, please?
Barry?
Here.
Steve?
Here.
Corey?
Here.
Bo?
Here.
David?
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. We'll proceed. If everybody please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, consent agenda. What are the wishes, gentlemen?
Motion to approve as presented, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Steve?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Bo?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Barry?
Yes.
Motion carried. This is the point of the agenda where we have public, it's open for public comment. If anybody is here for public comment, we would entertain those now. I see none. So we will go on to new business, the North Dakota Atmospheric Resource Board. It looks to me like we have a presentation. Hang on for 1 second. I see some panic from the back of the room. Here.
The light's on, but is it not
Yeah.
working?
Apparently not.
Oh.
This way you can walk around and point and do things if you need to.
All right, well, take two. Maybe I'll turn that on. Well, it doesn't want to turn off, but it says it's on. Sorry about that. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thanks for having us here this morning. I'm Darren Langard, the director of the Atmospheric Resource Board in Bismarck. Our chief meteorologist, Mark Schneider, is with us as well. And we're here to talk about the cloud seeding program that happened up here in Williams County, in Mount Trail and McKenzie counties last summer, in addition to Bowman and Slope in the southwestern part of the state. So Mark had sent you some information leading up to the meeting in an email, and I can go through some of that information. If you guys have any questions on anything, I'd be happy to try to answer them. So this summer was the second season of a 3-year agreement that we have with Weather Modification International out of Fargo. That company provides the aircraft, seating equipment, the pilots in command of the aircraft. The state of North Dakota provides internship opportunities through UND's aviation program. So we have 5 intern pilots on the program this summer. Each one of the 5 aircraft had an intern pilot. We also had meteorological staff that ran the radars, and also interns that helped staff those as well, in addition to the 5 pilots. So we have 10 people that we bring on board during the summer from the state perspective to bring to the program each year. Program started on June 1st, ran through August 31st in the Northern District here, which is typical each summer. Down in the Southwest, the program did extend for 8 days to the 8th of September, as harvest was ongoing and was a little late down there because they were a little wetter in that part of the state this summer. Overall, as far as flight hours go, we flew almost the identical number of hours on this summer's project as we did last year. 284.53 was the total. Of those in the Northern District, up here in District 2, 191.48 were up north. 93 of those hours were flown in the Southwest. One thing to note on how the aircraft flights were categorized this year, something that we did change from previous seasons. You'll see in the contractor's final report on the very back, there's a tabulation of the daily flight operations of the aircraft, and you'll see a dual purpose mission. And what that is, there's some confusion amongst the public on the way that the aircraft seating was categorized from hail suppression to rain enhancement. So what we did to try to alleviate that was we created a dual purpose mission. So that means when an aircraft is launched to fly for seating for rain enhancement or hail suppression, that actually encompasses both of those in that dual purpose, because oftentimes an aircraft will be launched initially to do reconnaissance, and then once conditions are favorable, they may be starting to seed for rain enhancement, and then if the storm gets bigger and poses a hail threat, now all of a sudden that flight is a hail suppression mission. All along, the purpose of that flight is, both purposes, is to increase rainfall and reduce hail. So in that case, that would be categorized as a dual purpose mission. Hail suppression now would only be categorized under an area that is not seeding actively for rain enhancement, but only would be seeding for hail suppression, and vice versa. If there's no hail suppression missions available with the storms that given day, it would only be rain enhancement. So we hope that helps to clarify things. Maybe it muddies the waters a little bit until people get accustomed to it, but that's what we were trying to do to get a better overall picture of how our operations are conducted. So you can see up in the District 2 operations area this summer, 134.22 hours of flight time of the 191 were for that dual purpose. So both increasing rain enhancement and hail suppression at the same time. Getting into the cost review, so looking at the overall expenditures of the program from this last summer, there were just a couple of items that really stood out. One was the aircraft flight hours for the cloud base seating, and we were about $20,000 under budget in that item. So that's the light twin Piper Seneca 2 aircraft that only seat below the cloud base. There was one stationed in Williston here and one in Stanley this summer. But we made up for that in large part on the next line for the flight hours for the twin turbo, which is based in Watford City, which is the aircraft that seeds mostly at cloud top. And that one was $13,000 over budget. So the two combined, we were about $7,000 under budget for the total aircraft flight hour viewpoint. The rest of the items down the list were mostly under budget. We were over a little bit in the last line. We did purchase, this was for the Southwest District, but we purchased a shipping container for storage down there that we hadn't planned originally in the budget, and that's what mostly put us over down there. But overall, if you look at the budget, the $801,000 was the budgeted expenditures for the program. We came in at $761,000 for expenditures and about $40,000 under budget for the year for the entire program. Also, the internship program, as I mentioned earlier, for the interns is a separate expense for the program. It's not on the budget of the operational program. It's not shared by the counties in that respect, but it's something that's been ongoing for 40 years. Those funds are separate and pay for the costs of the salaries and wages of the interns. And in this case, this summer, all the interns' costs amounted about $43,000 for salaries and wages for the 3 months. Any questions on any of that thus far? Okay, looking into next year, just a couple of notes. We're in really good position going into the 2024 season with regard to our ending chemical inventory. We do, the state does purchase and procure the seating materials that are used for the program, and then they're supplied to WMI and their pilots for their use. We keep inventory of that, and we hold an inventory over the season. And we've got a pretty good stock of ending balance inventory, so our purchase for next year's program is probably going to be pretty small. So that's going to be a value that can be applied to next year's program when we're looking at budgeting with the counties coming up here in the next couple of months. Overall, the program was not terribly busy this summer. The National Weather Service in Bismarck made a statement earlier in the fall saying that this was the fewest number of severe storm warnings that office has issued in North Dakota since 1992. So that's going back 30 plus years, the slowest summer as far as severe weather warnings go. And we certainly experienced that in the summer with the program. As you are aware, things started out a little dry in the northern part of the state and kind of stayed that way for the first half of the summer. The way the weather pattern's set up, it was much wetter in the southern part of the state than it was in the northern part of the state. Things did change a little bit later in the summer in August. And then, of course, we've gotten some beneficial precipitation in the fall and already an early snowstorm. It's already melted and gone into the ground, but that was good to see. So we're hopeful that, we're in a good shape next spring and getting ready for the program again for 2024. I don't really have any other specific things to mention. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them. As I mentioned, we will be meeting with the counties probably here in Williston sometime in late January, early February to meet on the budget and the project for the upcoming summer, and then go from there.
Anybody got any questions, comments? That's pretty impressive. You must have done a good job if this crew doesn't have a question or a comment.
I'll wear that as a badge of honor. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, you can just leave it right there. That's fine. Department heads, looks like, holy smokes, Lindsay's got half a page here.
Okay. Good morning. I have a couple of different things for you. The first is a preliminary opioid spend plan. So coming out of the legislature, it is required of counties that are participating in the national opioid settlement and wishing to retain or expend funds that they work with their local public health unit. And then they put together expenditure plans prior to actually spending any money. At this time, we are still figuring out some of the settlement details and how much we will actually be getting from each of the settlements and the status of the settlements and whatnot. The state had put forth a deadline of tomorrow to submit plans just as people had them. And so just in good faith in the fact to demonstrate we are actively working on this and discussing it, and not only working with our local public health unit, but also Northwest Human Service Center. This is just our preliminary plan to say we do intend to do something. And we are working together. So just seeking your approval of this to be able to submit to the Department of Health and Human Services Behavioral Health Division as a preliminary plan.
Anybody have any questions for Lindsay on it, or wish to make a motion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, Brenda.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes, motion carried.
Okay, the next item is a grant extension request from AcroStars Gymnastics for their community grant this year. They were hoping to get their contract work done this year, but as we all know, those have been taking a lot more time. So they're seeking an extension until next June to be able to expend the funds because they were not able to schedule a contractor until April. So included in your packet is their formal request letter, and then Karen has drafted the amendment should you approve. And then this way we can just get it turned around quickly.
Any questions? What are the wishes?
Move to approve the amendment and authorize the chairman to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes,
Bo,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
motion carried.
Then there is another grant extension request from Connectus Therapy for their behavioral health grant. They had been awarded funds to complete some training, and they are essentially deferring that training just until next year, and requesting to extend their funds to be expended by the end of next year because they've actually been able to obtain their substance abuse program license in full. And so if they're able to do the training next year, it can kind of go towards those licensing credentials. So again, in your packet is the formal request letter from Connectus Therapy asking for that extension to the end of next year, and then a draft amendment should you approve or want to make changes.
Okay, any questions? What are the wishes?
Move to approve the amendment and authorize the chairman to sign.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then lastly is the matching grant recommendation from the Finance Committee. This was the first year that we've done a matching grant program with the intention that an entity or an organization has applied to a grant from a different program that requires a match, and that they can then apply to the Williams County program for some of those match dollars. You've made awards earlier this year, and based upon awards that were not fully expended because that entity did not get a grant, there are still dollars in the pot. This is the last cycle for this. This will be over after this recommendation. We did receive 2 applications before the final deadline of November the 13th. The first being from Uspire ND, Healthy Families ND. This is an evidence-based home visiting program that is wishing to extend its services into Williams County. This one did not have a specific program it was seeking a match to, but rather is seeking a community match to a variety of grants that they receive through the Department of Health and Human Services from the state, as well as federal grants. And this would go towards about 16% of their local expenses. They're requesting $20,000, and $20,000 was recommended by the committee. And then the Williston Community Builders applied for $100,000 towards the match of their Parks System grant award that they received through the state of North Dakota. They requested, again, $100,000, and $100,000 was recommended. And just noting here that Williston Parks and Rec was actually the one who received the grant. And so that's who the match would have to go to should you approve this one. Questions?
What are the wishes?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve both requests as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question. So on that second one, Parks and Rec did not make the request. It was the community builders or what?
So the Williston Community Builders serves as the fundraising arm for Williston Parks and Rec. And so they have like a collaborative approach in terms of applying for grants. And then because the Park System grant program is actually for park districts, the Williston Parks and Rec District is the one who received that award. So Williston Community Builders is applying on their behalf for the dollars. But in terms of actual agreement world, we would need to make that agreement with Williston Parks and Rec because they are the ones that require the match for that grant award that requires the match.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Corey,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, Lindsay. Any department heads that we missed that need to? Nothing? Looks like you're up, Helen.
She turned it off. Got it. All right. You have a position report in front of you, which actually I have an addition to. So the position report you see lists an equipment operator position, but we also have a staff surveyor position that we would like permission to fill, please. And both of those are employees that have just left our employment.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the positions? Roll call.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Corey.
Yes. Motion carried.
All right, North Dakota Legislature House Bill in the last session, House Bill 1307, is titled Back the Blue. And it was the legislature's attempt to help local law enforcement agencies, sheriff's departments, and police departments to recruit and retain. They are focused on licensed workers. So our licensed workers at the sheriff's office are licensed peace officers and licensed corrections officers. So the money came down to each jurisdiction, and then the sheriff or chief were in essence tasked with coming up with a program to use these funds. and we were advised that the county commission should make final approval on said program. So the sheriff and I have worked through, created what we think is a good program with a couple of priorities in mind. The first was that we wanted to prioritize shift workers. So the line level staff who are doing the work, not necessarily focused on leadership. I mean, we appreciate all of them, but we think we're looking to recruit and retain those line workers, to distribute the funds to staff in time for them to use this holiday season, as opposed to, you know, kicking the can somewhere down into the future. And then as we talked through the program, we had some concerns that we also wanted to acknowledge that it takes a team to do this work, and we're able to find some county funds for positions that have not been filled throughout the year that we could use to help provide similar bonuses, let's call them, to non-licensed workers. That extension, by the way, is the support staff at the sheriff's office and also dispatchers at Williams County Dispatch. So with your permission, we would seek your approval to pay these funds out this week. It's Thanksgiving week, and we think that it's a cool way for us to be able to say thank you to the folks doing this work in both departments. So it would be expended this week. Again, we distribute the money heavily on the shift worker side, and then on the license side, there is a modest bit of funding, a pretty small amount, going up the chain of command. There are a handful of employees that have not been in law enforcement or in this kind of role. They've been here just a short time, and so when they reach their 1 year, they would be eligible. But by and large, we've had relatively low turnover in the sheriff's office this year, and so there's a real small number there. So we officially need your permission to make this all happen yet this week.
Does anybody want to grill the sheriff or Helen about this a little more? Or do you understand? I see him back there trying to hide behind the wall.
Just so FYI, the sheriff is not included in this, right? Or am I wrong?
In the end, we did include everyone who is licensed.
Okay.
But
Okay,
I think
I didn't
the
know.
sheriff actually gets the smallest. Is the way
Okay.
he worked it.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes. Motion carried.
That's all I have.
That's it. Okay, seeing nothing else, let's see here, we're gonna wait 3 seconds. We will adjourn 8:23.